Chapter 5, Creating Effective Business Messages. So in this chapter, we'll explain the goals of effective business messages and the process of creating them. Identify the needs of the audience in the AIM planning process. Gather the right information and refine business ideas in the AIM planning process. Develop your primary message and key points in the AIM planning process, as well as explain and apply positive and other-oriented tone in business messages. So this chapter covers those goals of effective business messages, the AIM planning process, including audience needs, business ideas, and key points, and positive tones. Writing effective business messages involves a process, one that involves examining, developing, and refining business ideas in a way that provides business value to your audience. This process drives excellence in business thinking as well as collaboration and productivity in your work relationship. The process of developing a business message is fairly straightforward. Plan it, write it, and review it. You've likely been trained and coached in a similar process many times during your education. Nearly all business professionals have been trained in this process, yet few business professionals excel at it, and consequently few business professionals produce excellent written communication. Making this process a habit requires discipline and scheduling. And a side note, when I speak to business professionals on our advisory board, the number one thing they say to us, so these are the employers out there, the students lack communication skills, verbal and written. So this is beyond important. Figure 5.1 depicts the stages and goals for creating effective messages. It's worth noting that these stages are not necessarily linear and often overlap one another. Business writers frequently move back and forth between these stages. So understand your audience, gather the right information, and develop your message. Writing it, set the right tone, apply a clear and concise style, focus on navigational design. Get feedback, ensure your message is fair, and make sure to proofread. Expert writers are more likely to analyze the needs of their audience, identify and collect the right information to tackle a problem, and identify the primary message and key points before even starting a formal draft of a business message. On the other hand, poor and average writers are more likely to begin drafting or writing right away. They often address planning issues, audience analysis, information gathering, and message development as they go. Consequently, they tend to write in a less organized, perhaps even haphazard manner. They generally produce less strategic and influential messages. Figure 5.2 contrasts the time that poor, average, and expert business writers commit to planning, writing, and reviewing. Not surprisingly, poor writers spend less overall time than average and expert writers. They generally spend little or no time planning and usually do not review their message before sending them. A lot of people, side note, a lot of you out there need to start proofreading before you send your homework in. The difference between average and expert business writers is most intriguing. Expert business writers not only produce more effective written communications, but also do so more quickly than average writers. Their secret is to devote a much higher percentage of their time to the planning and reviewing stages. So start now. The most important stage of creating effective business messages is planning. Throughout the remainder of the book, we will refer to the three-component AIM planning process for developing influential messages. It focuses on three areas: audience analysis, information gathering, and message development. Effective business communicators possess an uncanny ability to step into the shoes of their audience members. They think about their audience's needs, priorities, and values. They envision how their readers will respond when getting the message, in thought, feeling, and action. They also consider how the message will affect their working relationships. Effective business communicators regularly take the following actions to tailor their messages to others. They identify reader benefits and constraints, consider reader values and priorities, estimate their personal credibility, anticipate reactions, and then consider secondary audiences. For many messages, identifying reader benefits and constraints is the single most important planning step. Simply put, your readers respond when you provide them with something that they value. When you communicate no apparent benefits, your readers are unlikely to engage. In addition, you need to consider the constraints your audience faces. Your readers may see value in your messages but not be able to respond to them because they don't have enough time, resources, or authority to make certain decisions. Being an effective business communicator requires that you learn about other people, what they value, prioritize, and prefer. Values refer to enduring beliefs and ideals that individuals hold. Generally, people hold workplace values, beliefs and ideals about the appropriate way to approach business problems, resolve issues, and choose goals. Priorities involve ranking or assigning importance to things such as projects, goals, and tasks. Priorities tend to shift more often than values. Your readers will inevitably judge your recommendations, requests, and other messages based on their view of your credibility. If your credibility is low, consider how to strengthen your message in ways that overcome your lack of credibility. Many entry-level professionals face this situation. They have relatively low professional credibility because they are viewed as the newcomers. Establishing a professional reputation takes time. It takes less time, however, if you stay aware of your strengths, weaknesses, and goals. Most importantly, your reputation depends on adding value in the workplace. So your communication ability is beyond important. To break out of a reputation as an inexperienced newcomer, consider the following. Set up a time to talk with your boss, explain your growth in various areas, and ask for ideas about improving your professional reputation. Ask your boss if you can take on any higher responsibility projects. Make sure you fit in with the corporate culture in terms of professional dress and communication style. Attend a lot of meetings to get to know as many colleagues as possible. Participate appropriately. Create a professional blog about a niche area. Keeping your communication skills in mind. Developing great business ideas involves sorting out the business issues and objectives, collecting as many relevant facts as possible, and making sound judgments about what the facts mean and imply. You are making sense out of often complex and confusing pieces of business information. Excellent business thinkers possess a number of characteristics. First, they clearly and precisely identify and articulate key questions and problems. Second, they gather information from a variety of sources. Third, they make well-reasoned conclusions and solutions. And fourth, they remain open to alternatives for approaching and reasoning about the business problem. That is, they are mentally flexible. And finally, they are skilled at communicating with others to figure out and solve the complex problem. Business professionals use many methods of bringing out their best thinking. Generally, for complex problems, such as the opening case, writing ideas down in some form is an important part of developing sound ideas from the information gathered. In this section, we focus on three broad areas: identifying the business problem, analyzing the business problem, and clarifying your objectives. Analyzing the business problem typically involves uncovering relevant facts, making conclusions, and taking positions. Facts are statements that can be relied on with a fair amount of certainty. Most things are not absolutely certain in the business world and can be observed objectively. Conclusions are statements that are reasoned or deducted based on facts. Positions. The third and final element of analyzing a business problem is taking positions, which are stances that you take based on the set of conclusions. In the workplace, you will often make recommendations, which are a type of position. Once you have analyzed the needs of your audience and gathered the right information, you develop your basic message. The first questions you will address in framing the primary message are the following. What is the primary message? What simple, vivid statement captures the essence of your message? 15 words or less. The next question you will address involves setting up the logic of your message. To do this, you will ask the following. What are your supporting points? What do you want to explicitly ask your readers to do? How will you order the logic of your message? Most business arguments employ a direct or deductive approach. In other words, they begin by stating the primary message, which is typically a position or recommendation. Then they lay out the supporting reasons. Most business messages conclude with a call to action. For some messages, such as when delivering bad news, you may adopt a more indirect or inductive approach, in which you provide supporting reasons first, followed by the primary message. Figure 5.4 illustrates the framework of most deductive business arguments. Generally, a reader could get the gist of your message, the primary message, rationale, and call to action simply by reading the opening paragraph, the first sentence of each supporting paragraph, and the final paragraph. In fact, many of your readers who are generally busy will do exactly that. They will skim the communication to understand the main ideas and implications. If they see merit in your ideas, they will go back and read the entire message more carefully. Keep that in mind. Figure 5.5 indicates business arguments that employ a direct or deductive approach begin by stating the primary message, which is typically a position or recommendation. So you could see that in the opening paragraph. Primary message as topic sentence. Preview sentence as concluding sentence. We should do this because of 1, 2, and 3. Then they lay out the supporting reasons in the body. Most business messages conclude with a call to action. The call to action in many cases is a more detailed and elaborate version of the initial position or recommendation. As you set up the structure of your message, carefully test its logic. If you ensure that your messages are built on strong reasoning, you will be far more influential because your company will benefit and you will gain credibility. To build well-reasoned business positions, avoid the following types of logical inconsistencies: unsupported generalizations, faulty cause and effect claims, weak analogies, either-or logic, slanting the facts, and exaggeration. People often build resistance not to the content of a message, but to the way it is delivered. That's important. One of your primary goals as a communicator is to express your messages in ways that respect and inspire others. Readers judge a message partially by its tone. The overall evaluation the reader perceives the writer to have toward the reader and the message content. Readers will judge your message based on how positive and concerned they think you are. Business communicators generally aim to project positivity and concern for others in all business messages. A positive attitude in the workplace improves work performance, allows more creativity, provides more motivation to excel, facilitates more helpfulness between coworkers, and gains more influence on clients and customers. The bottom line is that your ability to remain positive and exude optimism in your communications can strongly influence others. You can adopt a number of techniques to make your messages more positive, including display a can-do, confident attitude. Focus on the positive rather than negative traits of products and services. Use diplomatic, constructive terms related to your relationships and interactions. In every facet of business communication, focusing on others is important. It is a basic component of your credibility, your caring. In content and form, your message should show that you have the interests of your audience in mind. The following guidelines will help you demonstrate concern for others, also referred to as other-oriented language. Avoid relying too heavy on the I voice. Respect the time and autonomy of your readers, and give credit to others. Whereas tone relates to the overall attitudes or feelings that writers convey toward a message and its recipients, meta messages are the overall but often underlying messages people take away from a communication. Meta messages are encoded and decoded as a combination of content, tone, and other signals. In your written and oral communications, think about the lasting meta messages you send. Over the course of sending many communications, you send meta messages that become the basis for your reputation. These meta messages form other impressions of your credibility, competence, caring, and character. Mixed signals occur when the content of a message conflicts with the tone, nonverbal communication, or other signals. Sending mixed signals is not only confusing, but is also frequently results in negative meta messages. Even if a business message is well reasoned and justified, if readers perceive a selfish or manipulative tone, they may decode meta messages such as, "I'm not being straight with you," or "I'm opportunistic." In a job interview, an applicant may say the right things, but because of unprofessional dress, send a poor meta message, such as, "I'm not serious about this job," or "I don't understand the culture of your company." After studying this chapter, you should understand the following topics: the goals of effective business messages, the AIM planning process, including audience needs, business ideas, key points, and positive tones.